Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Brian Lagerstrom, and I've got my wife, Lauren, here.
Hi.
And today we're going to do a Q&A.
I'll be asking the questions that you guys submitted, and he'll be answering. He has no idea what these questions are, but I can tell you that there's some about cooking. People have asked about us as a couple. There's a little bit of gossip, and then at the end, I have a little surprise planned. Nothing crazy, just a little surprise. Let's just start it out. First question, a little bit of a softball to get us going. What's your go-to quick breakfast and favorite weekend breakfast to make at home?
Go-to quick breakfast for me is usually a yogurt bowl, coconut yogurt, because, you know, being a grown-up, it's all like you got to avoid dairy sometimes, guys. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes.
Blueberries, strawberries, bananas, little walnuts, some honey on there, and then like 3 or 4 scrambled eggs.
Fancy weekend, though. What are you doing?
I think we do waffles pretty often, or Lauren does pancakes, and when I'm making them, they end up being waffles because you get more texture.
But what do I call them?
Lauren calls them munchers.
I do say that.
Yeah, so I usually get to benefit from that, and they're gluten-free. But there's really not that big of a difference between a gluten-free pancake and a reggae pancake.
Is there something you're afraid to cook?
I'm kind of afraid of the Middle Eastern crispy rice dishes, like Persian rice, where you have to cook the rice perfectly and then get the bottom fried and crispy in a way. That's complicated. There's a lot of steps to that. I think the dish is called tahdig. So,
What about baking? You're not scared of baking? I think I'm more scared of you baking than you are.
yeah, I'm scared of baking because I'm not as to be clear, like baking pastry.
Yes, baking pastry.
Baking bread, I don't fear. When it comes to baking pastry, I don't really know exactly what levers to pull. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I just don't have the pro level experience with pastry type stuff to be like an authority, to be like, oh, X went wrong, I definitely need to do Y. So I end up Googling a lot of things, texting friends, and sometimes it works out great, and other times it's like day 4 of making the video, and Lauren's like, we gotta bail. And I'm like, I'm not quitting.
Brian, how do you cope with recipe failure?
As somebody who fails on recipes regularly, I think the emotional response that is appropriate is to just say, you know what, live to fight another day. Throw it in the trash or eat around the burnt edges the best you can. And just know that tomorrow you're going to be hungry again and that you get to try. It's pretty hard when you've spent a lot of money and time and you thought you followed the recipe correctly, but maybe you didn't understand it or like the recipe was bad. It stings, baby. It's not fun.
But if you're talking about how does Brian cope with his recipe failure for the channel, little differently.
Oh my God. Not well.
Little differently.
All right. How about you tell them how yesterday went? And like, don't hold back.
I heard so many F words, yelled in pure anger.
Rage is a better word for it.
Pure rage. And it's like certain levels of rage where I know I should come downstairs and check on him, or should I just hang upstairs in my office for a bit to let him cool off? Yeah. Like, coming down, how can I help you? Just like,
yeah, she's like touching my back, and I'm like, don't touch me, don't touch me. I don't need your help. And I had like an unwrapped thing of bacon in my hand, and I like smacked it on the counter, and I was like, F word, a loud, aggressive F word.
Yeah,
10 or 12 of those. Because here's the thing, making the amount of videos that we do make, there's a certain amount of pressure and the clock is ticking. Like I have to get it filmed and edited and posted off to the brand and posted to keep going. And if it's 4 o'clock on the last day I have to shoot it and it's a 6-hour recipe and I screw it up on camera and then I have to double back and reshoot a bunch of stuff so that the new version of the thing matches the story. I'm in that moment. It's a complete and utter meltdown because I'm just thinking, great, I'm not going to have this film for another 24 hours at least. I have to go back to the store and spend another $100.
And what if I don't have it right the next time?
Exactly.
He hates, like, the only thing that makes him absolutely insane is the thought of putting out a recipe that sucks or doesn't work. Like,
yeah, it's existential. It's like, why am I doing this? This is so stupid. Anybody could put a video on the internet of some shitty quiche.
So how does he cope? Lots of anger,
yeah.
Lots of yelling, but he always comes around. And then after that anger stage passes, there are moments of like, you know what? This is going to make for a better video. It's going to make for a better story. I can show them what not to do.
I have all the mistakes on film, so I can be like, by the way, if you incorporate your butter in this way, it's going to fall apart. Cut to it falling apart.
Because everybody's going to, people are going to fail. That's normal.
Yeah. But it's like a transient thing. I'm like white hot for 8 minutes, and then I'm like, well, I have to get back to work now.
Why do cooks in fine dining suffer through such long hours for little pay? Just the love of the job?
I would say culturally, being a chef is, or at least until recently, was kind of highly regarded. It had become a higher status job than it was in the 80s and like maybe 90s. People like Anthony Bourdain really brought chef culture to the masses, and all of a sudden in like the early 2000s, being a chef bad boy was like cool. So people like me who grew up in sort of middle America, middle income, were like, yeah, I should definitely devote my life to this hard blue collar job. So to gain status in that world, you kind of will do anything to climb the ladder. And for whatever reason, that's just how the hierarchy of kitchens are set up. To get in, you basically have to be willing to work 1,000,000 hours, usually for free at the start. And if you sacrifice and punish yourself enough, you can get somewhere and achieve some level of success.
And like the more burns you have, the more hours you worked, the higher up you raise on the hierarchy.
Well, as you climb the hierarchy, hopefully you have less burns. Like you get a little bit better. The other thing is that like the economy of restaurants, or at least let's say like the economics of how a restaurant business operates, are very thin margin. So if you want to do high level food, like high level fine dining food, you need a ton of labor to do that. And you can't afford to have like a morning guy come in, prep the stuff so that the evening guy can then cook it for service. It just ends up that has to be the same guy. And that guy's usually going to end up working off the clock for like 4 or 5 hours. I did that for like 3 or 4 years and made $23,000 when I was that age. It was insane.
What are your suggestions for cooking chicken breasts?
There's a couple of ways to make it juicy that are non-trad, or I guess like maybe not intuitive. One is cooking it with water. The temperature of water can only go to 212, little science fact there for you. So that means that the protein in the water is going to get cooked gently. So don't be afraid to cook your chicken in hot water, or poach it. That's what it would be called. Next question.
Why preheat the oven for baking potatoes? Any advantage over a cold oven?
If you preheat the oven to like roast potatoes and your goal is to get like a good roasty sear on the outside, putting the potatoes in a hot oven just gives them more time at that temperature. If you put them in a cold oven, also the likelihood that your potatoes will stick to the cooking surface on the sheet tray is high. And yeah, they'll be at 275, 325, 350, 375, like through that whole curve up, kind of steaming on the outside before they really start getting to get going. So I usually preheat, and I usually preheat my sheet tray so I can get like a real hard, crispy roast on the edge.
This is one of the most popular questions that we got on YouTube. They say, congrats on the subs. If you were to open your own restaurant, what food or cuisine would you have? And what type of dining experience would you want?
Well, I guess I'll start like by being the wet blanket here and just saying that at this point in my life, as like a 35-year-old who has a pretty decent amount of experience in the restaurant business and some very close friends who still are in the grind of it, I wouldn't open a restaurant. It just doesn't seem like a very good idea if you want to, have a, I guess not relaxing, but like a balanced life, let's say that. But that being said, I do think about it a lot. Like, I think it would be casual for sure. There's nothing about me that wants to make fancy food anymore. It's just too self-indulgent and it doesn't entertain me. But I think pizza would be fun. It's a good business too.
Definitely.
I know that's not like part of the question or whatever, but being financially successful would take a lot of pressure off of like the daily of being like, oh, I hope people show up. The thing about pizza is people are going to show up.
People dig pizza.
And probably the most fun I've ever had cooking food during service was making pizza at Union Loafers. There was a while when we first opened the pizza concept at that place that it was just me and Ted making pizza every night, and it was a blast. I mean, it was long days because we were also running the cafe and the bread shift during the day, but from 5 to 9 it was just me and Ted listening to Italian disco music, just hanging and making pizza. It was super fun and people were always happy, so that felt good.
As a home chef, what skills should we master first?
A very valuable skill that I think is undervalued is tasting your food. A lot of people will concentrate on gear first, or like quality of ingredient. That's important, but if you're not able to identify what good is in terms of salt and acid, your food is going to taste less good for sure. So I would say taste a lot, taste often, and ask yourself, does this taste 5% better than it did before I added the pinch of salt or that little splash of acidity? Or, ooh, maybe I went a little too far and now I'm like buzzed over here with salt and I'm not enjoying this as much. With salt, you do want to push it to the upper limit. I'm not saying make it salty, but you'd be surprised at how just a little bit more salt and a little bit more salt can make something really light up your mouth in a way that it just didn't before.
Wakes up the other flavors going on.
Yes, it makes it taste more flavorful. That's cliche, but it's true. Same with acidity. Try and hone your palate. Taste a lot of different things and smell a lot.
How do you feel when celebrity chefs get on YouTube and explode? Do you feel, in terms of subs, do you feel that that is as legitimate as your own subs?
Ooh.
Literally, they're asking that.
Well, there's only a couple of celebrity chefs who have been super successful on the platform, and I think Gordon Ramsay obviously is the biggest one. And he deserves to be successful on YouTube because he has a very viral personality. He makes content that people want to watch. No matter what platform he's on, he's been successful at making chef/cooking style content for 20 years, 15 years. So all the more power to him. I'm not the biggest fan, but I think he deserves success. If you're just like, we're on Food Network or, you know, a perennial cookbook author from, let's just say like old media. I don't want to label it as like old and new, black and white, but I do think of it like that in certain terms. And if you hop on YouTube and you're very successful, there is a part of me that will be like, kind of like,
stay in your lane.
I'll just be like, you know, this is like for us guys. Like you stay in the studio, let us like people at home make the content for the people on their phones. But I hate even saying that because that's not entirely how I feel about it.
The whole point of it is that everybody can have a piece. But I think when you have that big media empire behind you, that's when it hurts because it's like, oh, we're the little guys, you know, like trying to do it on our own bootstrapping. And then they come in with like a crew and a production team and professional editors. And it's like, damn. Like,
but here's the thing. This is like the sickest part about YouTube that I love so much, which is that it's a true meritocracy. So if you're a person in a kitchen with something to say or an old media brand, food media brand with a talent who's been developed for 20 years, you got 50 people on your crew. Both of those people have an equal opportunity in the algorithm to succeed. All you have to do is show up and bring value to people. And if you do it consistently, you will be rewarded. So some of the older media people who have a dozen cookbooks out and have been on television for years and years, they don't really have the connection with the YouTube audience that maybe they had on cable or on public access or whatever. And you can see it. They'll have 40,000 subscriber channels and their videos will only get like 6 to 15,000 views, which isn't horrible. Like that's still great, but you can just tell that like maybe they're not connecting in the way that, you know, someone like Babish or Ethan do. You know, that content is very tailor-made for their audience.
Question for Lorn. How far do you think Brian could go in a competition cooking show like Hell's Kitchen or MasterChef? And what are the things about him that could help him win? Or maybe something that would get in his way of success?
Excellent question.
I do think you could win. I do. And this is what's going to keep you from winning.
The thing is, I don't want to win one of those shows. That's the thing that's going to keep me from winning is I won't participate.
Truth is he's been asked to be on some of those shows, not like the big names, but like he's been asked, and every time it's
not any of the A-list shows. You're not like you're not Hell's Kitchen
yet. Come
yet,
on, but yeah, some of the bigger shows have asked, but like he, for some reason, I guess it's imposter syndrome, which you don't think you're as good as you are. You have a healthy level of modesty, which is always a good thing in my opinion. I think that's like the only thing that could hold you back, but yet reverse of that, you'd get there and your competitive nature would, I think, push you through and you would absolutely crush them.
For me, cooking is not something that should ever be competitive. I don't want, like, that's just everything about that turns me off. And I don't want to, like, personally just like don't want to play that game. So I'd be like, what can I do to go home as soon as possible to get back to the thing that I really, really like doing, which is like figuring out recipes and then figuring out how to communicate that well to people.
Yeah. Like I don't want
to. That's way better than like having a trophy and Gordon Ramsay being like, hey mate, you cook good.
Mate? He's not Australian.
That's what he says, right?
Does he? I don't know. Don't you think sometimes you put too much fat or sugar? I've done your recipes and they're usually fine with like 60% of the cheese.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of different things you could optimize for in cooking. If calories is what you're trying to optimize for, great. You know, cheese is pretty calorie dense. Maybe you want to leave some out. The recipes on this channel, 99% of the time are optimized for as much flavor as possible. It's hyper palatable food by design, like restaurant level food kind of for the home cook. And yeah, you'd be shocked at how calorie dense restaurant food is. So I take the mindset that I took developing dishes for the restaurant, which is like, people aren't going to be eating this every day, but you want to blow their mind as much as possible with what a Caesar salad could possibly be. You kind of want to redefine the idea of a Caesar salad to them. And if it takes 900 calories to get there, so what?
So be it. What's the best food city you've visited so far?
That's really hard, but I would say Seoul. I had so many good bites. There was not a bad bite the entire time. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
In the last few years, we've been super spoiled to go to Rome and Paris, Amsterdam, and Beaune, France, Lyon, France, New York City, and LA. And honestly, Seoul, South Korea had the best food. And I feel like we didn't penetrate it at all. Like we maybe had 5% of the stuff that you could try there. And it was amazing. Highly recommended. Yeah, go there.
What's next on the travel wish list and why?
So we're going to Japan in 3 weeks to do a food tour video. Then for a family vacation, we're going to Alaska over the summer. And then we're talking about going to Spain in the fall to go to Rioja, where they make Tempranillo, and then San Sebastian, where like all the hot shellfish comes out of the ocean. That's kind of like in the Basque region of Spain. But like on my list of places that I want to go very soon for food stuff would be Istanbul, Tel Aviv / Jerusalem. I really want to go to Chile, Argentina, sort of southern South America, anywhere in South America, honestly, but Chile and Argentina specifically, because you can kind of throw a Patagonia trip on there too, if you really wanted to. I want to go to the Eastern Mediterranean, like Croatia, Montenegro, Slovenia. That's a trip that we're definitely going to do. Sicily. Oh, dude, we got to go there. Many. I want to go to Egypt. I want to go to Morocco. These are all like so that's non-Eastern. And then I want to
Vietnam, Thailand,
Vietnam,
Singapore.
Thailand. I really want to go.
Hong Kong.
Yes, exactly. So all basically, but I guess those are like the top 15, and trying to balance doing the YouTube thing full time with those travel ambitions is hard because too much travel is bad. It wears you out. Mm-hmm. It kind of screws up your ability to do good creative work when you're just constantly not in your routine.
It's hard to feel refreshed and get into the making videos and work routine when you're always bouncing.
Yeah. But I mean, Jesus Christ, what a good problem to have.
Right.
To be like, oh man, I have to figure out what the right amount of world travel is.
But side note, have we told you guys about travel hacking?
Oh yeah, we could do
travel hackers.
Big time travel hackers here, guys.
We fly free because we get credit card points and we are wise with spending them for free flights.
We have a very elaborate spreadsheet with credit card sign-up bonuses.
Quite the scheme.
Yeah, so everywhere we've gone, we've flown for free. Look into travel hacking. It's effective. It works. So to summarize, the next 2 places that we're going to make food tour videos are going to be Tokyo and Spain. Speaking of Spain, we're probably going to need to brush up on our España before we go.
Using Babbel, the sponsor of today's video.
If you haven't heard of it, Babbel is one of the top language learning apps in the world and teaches you new language through real-life conversations. And since traveling is one of Lorn and I's absolute favorite things to do, and especially now that we're making travel content in other countries, before we go anywhere, it's an absolute requirement that we learn a few of the important words and phrases in the native language of whatever country we're traveling to.
Yo no tomo horchata.
Yo no tomo horchata. I do though. I drink horchata. Babbel is great for us because it's scientifically proven to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks, which is much faster than the 4 years I spent learning and then promptly forgetting Spanish in high school. Plus, Babbel lessons are designed by real language teachers, and if it's not working out, they offer a 20-day money-back guarantee. So to get up to speed on a new language or just brush up on the one that you already know, click the link in my description below or scan this QR code to get 60% off your Babbel subscription.
Can you settle the argument once and for all, cooked or uncooked pizza sauce?
I can't. I love them both. The thing is, I don't have to live in a world where I need to choose. They both have their pros and cons and applications where they make a lot of sense. I'm always going to put a cooked sauce on a Detroit-style pizza, I think. You need it to be super thick and dark and kind of just stick to your mouth. Mm-hmm. But putting a cooked sauce on a Neapolitan-style pizza would be crazy. Here's the thing, though, that all canned tomatoes are cooked. It's pretty rare that you're going to put raw tomatoes on a pizza. Not that that can't be good, but it's a different thing. It's not really like, quote, pizza in that sense, unless it's just like a singular topping on a sauce or cheese only pizza. But I digress. The answer is both, baby.
If you could eat one dish from another YouTuber other than yourself, what would it be and who would it be from?
Oh, man. Oh, that's such a good question, but it's hard to answer on a specific dish. I guess I would say Randy's dad from Made with
Randy's
Lau.
dad.
They call him Daddy Lau. I feel uncomfortable calling him Daddy. Randy's father's Cantonese food would be
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Pretty awesome. Because that's just not something that I have access to. And it's got a great story. It's homemade. And I freaking love all types of Chinese food.
What's the worst cooking injury you've had?
Well, there was a while back where I spilled boiling hot syrup all over my feet at Union Loafers, and all of the skin peeled off when I took off my socks.
I think we have a photo of that.
If we do, we'll put it here.
Trigger warning.
That was a drag because, when you're like a chef of a restaurant, you can't really call in sick. So I didn't really get to take any time off. I just had to put silver cream and bandages all over my feet and go to work for the remainder. I got to take the rest of the day off. That was sick. But the drive to the urgent care, I was just writhing. I was crying. It hurt so bad because there was no skin on my feet.
Wait, did you explain how when the syrup got on there, you were then told to take your sock off immediately? Because if not, removing the sock later would remove the flesh.
Yeah. Well, the flesh came, or I guess a lot of the skin came with the sock.
Oh.
The damage had been done. It could have been way worse. At home, I haven't really been injured. Little nicks and it's
Little
lower
cuts.
stakes. The thing that makes restaurant cooking more risky is you're making larger batches of food, so that means a lot more stored energy. You're rushing because there's always more on the to-do list than you can do, and there's people around bumping into you, and it just can be chaotic at times. So in that context, you're going to cut yourself way worse. You're going to burn yourself way worse.
Our neighbors in St. Louis really showed up for this Q&A, and one of the most asked questions is, what are your favorite restaurants in St. Louis?
Oh, I love this question.
I know.
And this is for people who might come to visit in St. Louis. I would say it's date night / fancy night out restaurants that we frequent. Louis on Demund, that's my friend Matt's restaurant. That is my favorite restaurant in St. Louis. He just opened a second restaurant in St. Louis called Wright's Tavern, which is a classic steakhouse. They got shrimp cocktail, oysters on the half shell, martinis, steaks, shrimp scampi, all of the sickest shit in the world. It's so dope. Go to Wright's. That's also sick.
But you must have a reservation.
Yeah, it's only 40 seats and it's super booked, but it's amazing. Bistro La Florisana is also another great one by the Galinas. They're hot shit. Little Fox, we've talked about them before on the channel. They're amazing. That would be my fancy date night out. For, let's say, international food, Curry Club in Chesterfield is a dosa spot where it's takeout. Pho Long on Grand here in St. Louis is just a really great, super flavorful bowl of pho. What else? Where do we go? Union Loafers, of course, go for their pizza, go for their sandwiches, buy their bread. They just opened a bagel shop called Union Bagel, and they have a bagel there called the Cherry Crunch, which is, ooh, baby. It is freaking good.
We go to Chicken Scratch at the Foundry a lot too. When we want good real food, we often go there.
Since we've been in St. Louis for 11 years, the restaurant scene has matured a lot here, and there's a lot of really great places. Brasserie by Niche.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Top of the list.
Ooh, Songbird for breakfast brunch stuff. Man, that's good.
So that's a short list. There's a lot. There's a ton more. There's actually quite a few good restaurants in St. Louis now. Ooh, Balkan Treat Box. Can't leave that out. You cannot edit that out.
I won't. What are your go-to fast foods and other guilty pleasure foods?
Ooh.
And what's your Taco Bell order?
Taco Bell order is double-decker taco, too hard, too soft, and Baja Blast, baby. Hot sauce, not mild. What about you? What's your Taco Bell order?
Oh my gosh. I go for Mexican pizza and nachos Bel Grande.
Is the Mexican pizza back?
It's back.
Finally.
Allegedly forever. And I think they have a second flavor. But for the record, not to be turds, but we haven't been to Taco Bell in
I know. We don't
5
really,
years?
Yeah. For guilty pleasure, we don't, as far as restaurant guilty pleasures, we don't really do that. When we do eat out, it's usually at a nicer place.
But if you could go order something and calories didn't count, or you just knew you were in for a gut bomb, what are you getting?
$300 worth of sushi,
Guilty pleasure. Dude, I'm eating a whole pan of brownies.
Okay. Well, the thing that I generally eat that would be a guilty pleasure is cereal. I eat a lot of cereal. But like, you know, the adult fancy stuff like Catalina Crunch or Magic Spoon.
Yeah.
That's always usually around.
Not sponsored. He actually does eat that.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Ooh, now that you work together, what does a day in your lives look like? And then another person also asked if I have any input into what we make and film.
Great 2 questions. I love the first question so much because like I'm definitely one of those people who clicks on like every day like routine type video.
We love talking about YouTube, by the way.
Yeah, like if you're a YouTuber and for whatever niche and you make like a day in the life or a routine video, I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But okay, so a day in the life for us starts, we try and get up around 6:30, usually like end up snuggling the cat till like 6:50, and then we go to the gym 3, 4, 5 days a week. It kind of depends on how like tired we are throughout the week, but we'll go to the gym, work out for 45 minutes, hit the sauna, come home, shower, try and rip those cold showers. Like seriously though, it gets you into a very clear mind state for your first 3-4 hours of work during
I
the
should
day.
have done it today. I caught footage of him doing it this morning. I think I'm also going to put that in a little clip here in the video. You'd love that.
And then we go our own way for pretty much the whole day. We'll like meet up maybe once or twice throughout the day to, I guess, cross paths for stuff that needs to happen together, like talking about video ideas, or Lauren helps me shoot the thumbnails.
Any handheld shots, I come down and
Yeah.
help with those. But otherwise, we're kind of on our separate computers. So he is mostly, you know, his own script writing. He actually does the filming. He is in the kitchen, busting around, moving around the cameras. Meanwhile, I'm upstairs handling business stuff. Sometimes I'm like doing editing. Sometimes I'm writing scripts for ads.
So I'll shoot video Mondays and Thursdays. I'll write scripts, edit videos Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays are recipe development, like late Friday, Saturday recipe development. And that's been our routine for the most part. We'll like usually end work around 4:30, maybe get out, play a little pickleball if we didn't go to the gym.
This is a new thing for
Yeah, we
us,
started
by the
pickleball
way.
like 3 months ago, and like
We're in it.
I'm obsessed,
Yeah.
bro. And then, you know, eat a really early dinner.
5 is
Yeah.
early, and we love it.
Going to the gym early means that you like don't have to do anything after work. So eat at 5 and then kind of relax, plan future. A lot of the evening time is kind of planning, you know, future travel. Lauren does all the travel planning, so she'll be on her computer like looking at, you know, Tokyo food tours and stuff
Travel
like that.
planning is my love language, if you will.
Yeah. And then what was the second part of that question, or the other question?
The other part is, does Lauren have any input into what you make or film? And I think we've kind of talked about this before, but we have a couple meetings a month, usually at a coffee shop, where we just lay down ideas for upcoming videos and talk about the concept, maybe talk about title, thumbnail, schedule those out, match them up with sponsors if those videos have sponsors. And yeah, I have a lot of input in that.
I would say it's like a 52-48 situation.
Yeah.
Like the 52 on my side, because like if Lauren has a hot idea for a recipe, like if I don't connect with it, like if it doesn't seem like there's going to be a clear path forward to making it into a good video, or if it's going to be too heavy of a lift on the development side, I'll probably veto the idea and just be like, well, we throw it back on the pile, or that's impractical. Like we need like a crew of people to help us make that video.
Right. What's a food you hate?
A food that I've been on record as hating is eggplant, because it's very hard to make as good as other foods. You kind of have to drown it in oil or a sauce to make it interesting, but it's also like a challenge. It's a mountain to climb. I want to figure it out. A lot of cultures use eggplant pretty, you know, like liberally in their cuisines, and I think it's on me to figure that out.
So what's the best product to clean the stovetop? And in terms of just cleanliness, how do you know when it's clean enough?
Best way to clean the stovetop is soapy water and a stainless steel scrubby.
And clean it every day.
Yeah, you just got to clean it right after you cook. Otherwise it gets really gunky and you got to use like oven cleaner to like soak it. And then that gets, you know, not super good to get on your body. And clean enough is kind of just like a barometer of like, how do you feel? There's certain days where I'm like, got to get in there every nook and crevice. Like this stovetop is a reflection of me as a person. If it's dirty, I'm a loser.
Yeah.
And can't look at myself in the mirror. So, you know, kind of just depends. Like last night, left it kind of dirty. I was pretty tired. We were out there pickleballing till like 9 p.m.
Many pickleball mentions in this.
I'm into
Q&A.
it. As what can I say?
I hope you like that. Something you buy at the grocery store weekly.
Canned mackerel
Yes.
every week. Bananas.
Smoked oysters.
Yeah, we eat a lot of canned fish in this house. We buy like $40 worth of sparkling water.
It's too much, but what are you going to do?
Like any middle-aged person would
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
trying to like drink slightly less.
Honeycrisp apples.
Honeycrisp apples, bananas, mackerel, smoked oysters, sockeye salmon. It's in the cart every single week.
What new ingredient have you recently found that you're psyched about?
I think we're late to this game, but we eat a lot of chili crisp now.
Yes.
It was hot on the internet like 3 or 4 years ago. There was a lot of Bone app videos about chili crisp. And I'm just late to the party. But if you haven't had it and it's not a part of your life, chili crisp and rice is just...
It's everything.
It's chef's kiss.
It's I got to the point where I was putting it on my breakfast every single morning.
Yeah,
and he had to like, okay, slow down.
Yeah. I mean, that stuff's pretty calorie dense too.
Yeah.
It's, you don't
Oil-based.
realize it. Yeah. You're putting, 300 calories worth of oil on your breakfast eggs. That's like, not the best on like every single day.
This old thing again. They're asking about a cookbook again. When are you going to put out a cookbook?
Here's the deal. It's awesome that people want a cookbook. I'm very stoked that there is a demand. The problem is that I just don't have the time to make one. Making 2 videos a week, or let's say 7 to 8 videos per month is, that takes like most of my time.
We don't have a staff. It's just us.
Yeah. So to do a cookbook, you need to, for it to be marketable, you kind of have to have a certain amount of new recipes. And right now I'm kind of just like in the weeds of producing weekly content on YouTube. So I can't make extra recipes.
Unless we wanted to scale way, way back on YouTube. And that's just not something we want to do because it's important to us right now. And I think like we are engaging with you guys weekly multiple times a week, and we want to keep that going. And to make a cookbook means letting go of some of that.
Yeah. The other part of it too is that I personally got a little cookbooked out over the last decade. I had the pleasure of working in restaurants where there was tons of creative, awesome cookbooks around all the time. And I got to thumb through them, and I just absorbed thousands of them at this point. But a lot of them are like the same, and a lot of them don't really need to exist. And I don't want to just make another thing that sits on a shelf somewhere. And I don't want to sell like 2,000 copies just to like stroke my own ego. So when I do it, hopefully it's going to be in a way that's special and, feels valuable. And it's something that I have a certain amount of interest in doing if we could do it right. And right now, I don't think we can.
Mm-hmm. I don't think now is the time. I think in the future, I would imagine will happen, but it's going to have to come at the right time and with that right nugget of information.
If we're lucky enough to continue to have an audience that
right.
like gives a shit about what I have to say about food. In the meantime, though, Lauren is updating our website, brianlagerstrom.com, with all of the printable recipes from these videos.
Yes, printable now, guys.
Yeah, it only took us 3 years, but
no biggie.
They're there. So brianlagerstrom.com if you are like a printable guy or girl.
The cat is hungry. I really need to feed the cat. Do you cook with stainless pots and pans aside from your usual nonstick? And then a second question about that is, honestly, how long do your Teflon nonstick pans last? Or do you recommend we rely on them less? 2-parter.
First part, I use stainless steel pans like 30-40% of the time. I feel weird like mentioning sponsors in this video, but like Made-In products, I have a lot of those now and I really like them. Professionally, I cooked with a lot of All-Clad, and for me, they're just about on par in terms of quality. But the Made-Ins are cheaper, so I go for those.
You're talking about the stainless specifically.
The stainless, yeah. Non-stick, the ones that last the longest come from the restaurant supply shops. Any of the consumer grade ones I've had last less long.
That said, again, not to talk sponsors, we haven't had the Made-Ins long enough to comment on whether or not they're lasting longer than the old standbys from the restaurant supply.
They're holding up good, and I wouldn't endorse them if I didn't like them. I feel pretty strongly about that. So with Teflon, though, how you use it depends too. The higher you heat it up, the more often you push it past that 500, the less the coating's going to stick. The more harsh the soap in your sink is, and the harder you scrub it, that's going to degrade it too.
The more times you scoop something with a metal spoon, I'm not saying you do that, but you definitely do that.
And like the temperature gradients, like super hot to super cold, that burns them out super fast too. Like in the restaurant, we used to keep a couple of nice nonsticks on the line for certain types of fish where the skin was quite hard to get right in a stainless pan. And, that would go from a French top that's 600 degrees, pushing the pan way past its coating rating, and then throwing it into a cold, soapy sink and just like that heat up, cool down. Chemically, I don't know if this makes sense to the person at DuPont who designed it, but, anecdotally, that really shortens the lifespan.
How does your cooking change to accommodate Lorn and her gluten restrictions?
Well, we just eat gluten-free 90 8% of the time. It became too much work to make a gluten thing and then a gluten-free option. So now like the way we eat, our main carbs are like rice, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, and then like brown rice pasta, that kind of thing. Shout out to Jovial Pasta, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Not sponsored, but they make some of the best gluten-free pasta.
Not sponsored, but please.
Yeah, Jovial,
Shout
if you're out
out
there, sub. I'm here. Lauren's here. We love it.
Yeah.
So we just don't really eat a lot of gluten-y type foods anymore, unfortunately. But also, too, that stuff, most of the time you should be moderating anyways.
Yeah.
Really, at least for us, like we don't do super good. I don't do super good when I'm eating tons of bread and sort of like refined starch. I just kind of feel like crap, and I'm like a little bit heavier, and I just feel kind of
And your
dumpy.
neck gets red.
Yeah, my neck starts to itch. The longer you go without like eating gluten, somehow like you notice it. Maybe it's psychosomatic, but my neck does get a little itchy when I eat non-sourdough bread now.
But he creates recipes that don't require it. If there is a recipe, like maybe on a weekend night, I request he cook pasta vodka or something that requires a sauce with a little thickener.
And if we do something that would be traditionally glutened and make it gluten-free, it'll be something where like the gluten isn't the main star. Like we can, let's say for example, like cookies are pretty easy to make gluten-free because it's not about the gluten. If you overdevelop the gluten, you make a terrible cookie. Or, gnocchi. We've made some Parisian style gnocchi. That's pretty easy.
Oh,
to
yeah.
sell. Yeah.
And actually we got so many questions on the gluten topic that we're going to continue with a couple more. Does Lorn really not get to eat all of your delicious gluten-filled meals? Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
I do. I'm not celiac. I'm just very much intolerant. I get very itchy when I eat gluten. So I taste test and then I spit. And
It's
I know
not that you get itchy. You get like super bad eczema.
Yeah.
Like really like sores on your body. I mean, like it's not just like,
you.
I just want people to be like, oh, I get itchy. So
No, it's
like
pretty
she's
bad.
very, very allergic to gluten.
But like sometimes I live on the wild side. Like when I go to Korea, I'm not taking like an allergy card because I'm going to die or I need an EpiPen. Luckily, if I have a little soy sauce, I'm fine. But like, the more I eat, the worse it gets. It's pretty gnarly.
But she tastes everything.
And then I spit it out and I rinse, and it's not glamorous, but that's how we.
So if you see her tasting something in a video that has gluten in it, she didn't swallow it. But yeah.
And then what's my favorite gluten-free recipe or my favorite gluten-free things? And I would say that all time probably death row meal would just be like his version of the chocolate chip cookies from the channel, which I'm getting passionate. I've never had a cookie that's better. Like that is the best gluten-free cookie I've ever had in my life. And all it is just subbing in the AP flour for cup gluten-free flour.
Yeah. And
It's
we usually go with
amazing.
like either Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Avoid the Bob's Red Mill has a product out there sometimes that has like garbanzo bean flour. Don't do that. You want the one that has all the weird fake starches in it. Like that's the good cup for cup. Or King Arthur makes a good gluten-free cup for cup.
And celiacs, gluten-free people, if you make those cookies, don't decide to make them small. Make them big.
Yeah.
If you want to eat a half, that's fine, but that's how you get all the textures. And I seriously cannot tell the difference between those and the real thing. Do you usually salt veggies at the start of sautéing? Could you explain why or why not?
You kind of need to season twice. And it depends on how you're cooking them. But let's just say you're giving them a quick saute in like a nonstick pan over medium-high heat. You're going to salt them at the beginning. That's going to help draw out a little bit of moisture and bring some steam into the mix and kind of create a mixed cooking environment where you're getting a little sear from the oil pan heat combination going directly on the veggies and then sort of like the localized steam that's coming off. If you don't put the salt in, that's not going to happen as much and it's going to be a different type of texture. It's going to cook slower. And then at the end, you want to kind of adjust the salt level because it's very hard to just guess in the beginning how much salt it takes to make the thing taste properly seasoned. So, you'll taste a couple pieces, maybe, hit it with a little bit more sparkle. That's usually how I would do it. I usually season things in stages. Whenever I go into a new phase of cooking too with something like a stew, taste and season. Season your beef before you sear it. Add your cooking liquid, lightly season that. And then before you finish, season at the end. You want to build it in stages.
How much of the stuff your sponsors send you do you actually use and enjoy? If you're allowed to answer, LOL.
LOL.
Is what he said.
Great question. Here's the deal. I won't claim that every single thing I've talked about on this channel gets my 100% endorsement. That being said, I only talk about things that I think are products that are good, that people could get use out of. If it's bad, If we get the product and it's bad, we don't do the deal. And we're lucky now that the list of brands that we work with are much more curated than some of the other channels out there that we'll talk about, just about anything, which is fine. Everyone, you have to build a business on YouTube.
Absolutely. If you want to do this
No
full time,
judgment.
you got to get money. And I mean, I think it's an agreement where you're saying this is sponsored, and you have to understand that the thing that's happening in that time frame may not represent 100% of the thoughts and feelings of that person. And that's okay.
Yeah. Because there's almost no product that I endorse with 100% enthusiasm, with the exception of Better Than Bouillon beef paste.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored. I wish I could say 100% integrity. I have never said one thing about a brand that I didn't feel down to my absolute core in my bones. And, sometimes it's a compromise between what I want to say and what they want to have said. And I try to be as honest and open about it and not be a shyster and only talk about things that I actually like.
I'm wearing a certain deodorant right now, as I do every day.
Yeah, the shoes I've talked about, I wore a lot. The cereals that we talk about, I eat those a lot.
Way too much.
I only have that one brand of cookware now. So yeah, it's complicated like anything else. But if I want to make recipe content for a living, I got to kind of toe that line a little bit.
How do you work in the same house with Lorn all day and keep a happy marriage?
What percentage of the time do you think we fight? It's very low.
It's low. I mean, I would say like now the percentage of the time that I would say disagree is on par with regular couples. Because I felt like we argued a very low amount before.
Yeah.
So now I don't know.
How do we work in the same house together? Just like respect. We have a very good marriage. We respect each other a lot. We're great partners. Each of us want to see the other person happy. And most of the time, if we get into a little tiff, one of us realizes that, if this isn't about winning, we'll just sort of, cede the position. What does that mean? Yo, what does that mean? No, but yeah, it's tricky at first. God, you get pretty good in regular life when you have separate jobs at spending like 3 hours a day together. And then the second that you're pushing 8, 12, 14 hours and, within 12 feet of proximity, becomes a much different ball game, as I'm sure a lot of people experienced during COVID.
But when I came on full time for the channel, before that, we had months where we just kind of outlined what it's going to look like. And, at what point, like what if you're sitting there editing and you can't stand the sight of my face or the sound of my voice anymore? What are some warning signs and what do we do to save the marriage? Number one priority is just keep a healthy marriage. And we've done really well. We haven't come against that yet. So
I don't want to be naive, but
Right.
I do think we have a very strong relationship and we respect each other at a very high level. And that helps sort out most of the problems.
lots of communication too, like any little problems or feelings usually on my part that come up, because the scales are off balance just in terms of he is the creative lead of this relationship. He has to be. That's just the nature of what this is. So working through those things, and I get a lot of creative input on the channel, which also helps.
Yeah. And then, if you have kind of like a type of relationship with somebody where you're always kind of nitpicking each other and maybe you spend more time mad at the other person than not, definitely don't work together. You have to go into it being in a very good spot. Otherwise, because it doesn't get that much, it's not going to get better if you're working together. It really does test the relationship.
Yeah. Another question. What is the binder agent that holds your relationship together? We're not going to answer that, but I just thought that was really cute.
What do you think it is?
Communication and friendship.
I think it's friendship. We are best friends.
We really are.
We play.
I whoop him hard on the pickleball courts at night, and he is just the lead creative chef.
It's a give and take.
It's a give and take.
But
And
we are best friends. We want to hang out all the time.
Yeah.
And that's good. We could work together for 8 hours and then be like, want to go to the gym? Want to go to pickleball? Want to watch TV together? Hey, we've worked together Monday through Thursday. You want to go out on a date on Friday and have a great time?
And we do. Hey, B-Man, anything in the works collab-wise? I know this has been asked before, but people are asking again.
We had a date to go to a certain New York City to do a collab with a YouTuber. Cut to me being like, hey, if you're out there, Babish, if you're out there, dude. We had a collaboration on the books for February. Unfortunately, I had some pretty tragic family shit come up that I just wasn't able to partake. We were supposed to go to France to do one with Ethan Chabowski last year. Lauren like blew up her entire ankle while walking down some stairs at the gym.
I'm fine.
She's fine now, but did the exact same thing when we were in Seoul.
You know what?
I had to bring it up.
When is your merch launching? I know we talked about this the last Q&A.
Yeah. We're waiting on the samples to arrive today.
But meanwhile, here is one sample.
Which camera did you show that to?
All of them.
This is like this is a possible design. We've got a bunch of stuff coming.
We got a designer that we love. Shout out to David from El Nino. He reached out randomly and just like dazzled us with some things that we're so excited about. Finally. And we do have them on products. They are on the way. The slight hiccup is just you being able to order those products and get them in a timely fashion for not $20 to $40 of extra shipping costs. So that's our little hang up. We're trying to find the right platform to sell that on. If you know of any good ones, please let us know. But it's important to us that the stuff that we sell you in terms of merch is going to be of high quality. So we want to make sure you can get it quickly, not pay a ton of shipping, and that it's actually decent product that we would want to wear ourselves. So
we have a wave of samples that are going to be coming in the mail today that we're going to be trying on. We were hoping they'd be here for this Q&A.
I know. Maybe we'll do like a little drop in during editing if we get them this weekend that you can
or
see.
not, or we'll just move on to the next question.
Yeah, right. What are some of the goals you're excited about for the future of your content creation?
I guess my main goal in general is to continue to make better and better videos. Like, can I write better scripts that are tighter, more dense with value? Can I make better recipes? Can I communicate those recipes more effectively? Can I show more trial and error in each video? And can I also like pick the right ideas to market on YouTube? That's mainly where my head is at. But we also want to be making more travel videos. We had a great time making that in Seoul. So we're going to experiment again with Tokyo to see how it fits into our overall life. Again, some family stuff happened earlier this year that kind of really took a lot of wind out of my sails. And I'm, slowly working back up to having the energy to be doing this stuff, because feeling like shit in Tokyo and having to perform on camera is like a nightmare situation.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's a big goal for me, is to do more of that. And get better at making vids.
So we're at the end, that little surprise nugget that I talked about earlier, and it's called Rapid Fire.
Oh, wait, lightning round.
Lightning round. It's called Lightning Round. I've named it Rapid Fire. So here are the rules. I'm just going to fire off questions at you. Tell me the first thing that comes to your mind, one sentence or less. And if you want to pass, that's okay. You can pass.
Let me get into a good posture for this.
Okay, you ready for this? I'm like sweating, and this isn't even my lightning round.
Let's go.
Okay. Are you into TV and movies? If so, what are your favorite movies or series?
I would say I'm lightly into TV, more into movies.
Favorite show?
Favorite show?
Right now.
Mandalorian. Favorite movie? The Martian.
Andor is your favorite show.
Yeah. Andor, baby.
Does Lorn call you Brian?
Yes.
Fave pie?
Apple.
What's the gadget you regret buying most?
Gadget. We did spend the air fryer easily.
Ugh, yeah. Best Chicago style pizza?
Thin crust. Chicago style thin crust is better than deep dish. And best place? I don't know. It's been a really long time since I've lived up there.
Will you ever move back to Chicago, or is St. Louis your forever home?
Oh, that's a tough one. My sister lives up there. Her kids are up there. I love them dearly. And
Rapid fire.
Oh, sorry. No. Sorry, we're in St. Louis.
Oh, I love that. Rapid fire. If you had to eat something every day for your entire life, what would it be?
Eggs.
Why would you wear gloves sometimes but not all the time?
Because I can't figure out like what the right move is on camera. I feel like touching raw meat and then touching my cameras is not like the best for them. And me, like my health, I don't want to like get, touch them later and then like get the raw meat in my eyes and stuff. But short answer is it's complicated.
Do you enjoy other people cooking for you, even if you know you can make it better? Be honest.
No, I don't. I don't. Because I'm sitting there being like, oh, you did that, huh?
Would you rather host a mini travel video pizza tour of the Midwest, collaborate with Bianco Di Napoli, or cook a B celebrity's favorite meal in their mansion?
Oh, God, that's an amazing question. That person needs to write more of these questions.
He wrote 2.
Oh, great. I would say Midwestern pizza style food tour.
How long doing YouTube content before it became your first form of income?
20 months.
Other creative outlets outside recipe creation and YouTube videos?
We do Legos sometimes. That feels creative. I write a journal sometimes too. That also feels creative. travel photography. Oh, check this out. Just got this framed.
He took that. Rapid fire. Are you ever just like, GD, I don't want to even cook, let alone film it?
Yeah.
What do you think is your best video on your channel?
God dang, dude. Beef stew.
Ooh, would you guys ever take a trip to India?
Yes, we're talking about going next year.
Hey, Bri, what books are you reading?
Ooh, I'm reading Green Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson and another book by a gal named Sonia Libelme. We'll link to it right here. It's about happiness. It's a sick book. Highly recommend.
What do you eat at home when you're feeling lazy?
Mackerel and eggs, I guess. Like I eat that a lot. Apples. You know, like if I'm not going to cook, those are like the 3 things I eat.
That's it. That was the lightning round.
I mean, that was exhilarating.
I know. I know.
So that was all the questions that we had for today. And I think probably like by a wide margin, the most creative, most interesting questions we've had.
Oh, nailed it.
See you next week for a regular recipe video.
Should we dance?
Wait a minute. I gotta say one more thing. Guys, all 878,000 of you, thanks a lot for being here. I get to make recipe videos. It seems like quite a few of you guys enjoy watching them. What a pleasure. What a thrill. What a privilege. It's been a great 3 years. We're about 2 weeks shy of the 3-year anniversary of this channel. I just never thought that I'd like get to do this. Sick. So
sick.
Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about this. I really appreciate all your thoughtful questions, and I look forward to making you a new video next week. See you next time.
I will get my come tonight. I'ma get wild. If you're not in the mood right now, and it don't kill my vibe.